Pulling into my driveway after work, I noticed a Mercedes parked at the curb in front of my building. The car was rocking back and forth with a steady rhythm. Holy crap, someone was getting it on right in front of my place. I immediately pulled out my phone and started recording. A few minutes later, the motion stopped, and a young woman in a tight-fitting pencil skirt climbed out of the car. Smiling to myself, I captured the whole thing. Some nerve, doing that right outside my building. I'd post this in the condo residents group chat later. Let them enjoy their public humiliation. Then the woman turned her head, and my world froze. It was my girlfriend, Chloe. After the Mercedes drove off, Chloe, looking utterly satisfied, walked into the building. I sat in my car, stunned, with no idea what to do. A moment later, a text from her lit up my phone. "Hey babe, still stuck at work." When I didn't reply, she sent a gif of a golden retriever getting a head scratch. "You work too hard." Before tonight, a message like that would have warmed my heart. Now it just made me feel sick to my stomach. I sat in the car for almost an hour before finally forcing myself to go upstairs. When I got inside, I found her already in bed, fast asleep. She was mumbling in a hazy stupor, her face flushed. As I got closer, I could smell the faint scent of alcohol under her body wash. So, the aftershocks were still rolling. I sat on the edge of the bed, debating whether I should just sleep in the guest room. Hearing me, Chloe stirred and rolled over, throwing her arms around me. "Oh, Derek," she murmured. "You're so bad." "Shoo, keep it down. You don't want the others to hear." A cold shock went through me. "Derek, look at another room. The office isn't comfortable." Son of a bitch. I felt the metaphorical horns sprouting from my head. I ripped myself out of her embrace, walked out, and slammed the door to the guest room, where I spent the rest of the night. Lying in bed, my mind was racing. I knew exactly who Derek was. Her boss, Derek Vance. A year ago, my company, Apex Dynamics, and Derek Vance's Synergy Corp were bidding for the same massive contract. The client had tasked both of our companies with developing a new autonomous drone navigation system, with a winner to be decided at a final presentation. The technical requirements were incredibly high, and the client's performance metrics were brutal. But the profit margin was astronomical. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that whichever one of us landed this deal could crush the other. Naturally, I threw myself into the work, leading my engineering team through sleepless nights and grueling weekends. Around that time, my girlfriend, Chloe, had just graduated from college. She came to me with an idea. She would get a job at Synergy Corp and act as my inside source, feeding me intel on their progress. I was against it at first, but Chloe insisted. "Ethan, that bastard Derek Vance has been trashing us in the press for months," she'd said. "We can't just let him get away with it." And last month, he poached 3 of our best engineers with those insane salary offers. We have a hit back. After thinking it over, and faced with her persistence, I finally agreed. Fresh out of college and beautiful, she easily landed an administrative position at Synergy Corp. Just recently, she told me she was being promoted to be Derek Vance's executive assistant. I was dead set against it. "Chloe, the guy is a notorious womanizer in the tech world." I warned her. "The number of women he's burned through is legendary. You can't be his assistant." Chloe looked at me with sincere, pleading eyes. "Ethan, don't you trust me? I've been stuck in admin for months. I can't get near any of their core project data. If I'm his assistant, I can actually help you win this." Her eyes welled up with tears. "Seeing you grind yourself to the bone at the office every day. I just want to do my part. For us, for our future." I was moved by her dedication, and I swore to myself I would win this bid, and then I would propose to Chloe. Yeah, right? I never imagined that while she was gathering intel, she'd end up gathering it in my rival's bed. The next morning, the moment I opened my eyes, the bedroom door flew open. Chloe threw herself on top of me. "Morning, sleepyhead. Why'd you sleep in here last night?" I had already decided to make them both pay, so for now, I couldn't let on that I knew. I had to play along. I smiled and ruffled her hair. "Work too late, babe. I didn't want to wake you." Chloe was wearing a simple cotton pajama set, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail. She looked so wholesome and pure, a complete 180 from the glammed-up, sexy woman in the designer dress I'd seen get out of that Mercedes. That secretary outfit, reeking of booze and cheap perfume, had already been quietly washed and put away. She had woken up early to make breakfast. Sitting across from me, Chloe poured me a cup of coffee. Babe, you're always working such long hours. We never get to spend any time together. Could you maybe start working from home more often? If I didn't have the video of her stumbling out of that car last night saved on my phone, I might have actually believed her act. Seeing the hopeful look in her eyes, a thought suddenly struck me. Now that she was sleeping with Derek, was she trying to steal data from my company for him? I smiled and nodded. Of course. The excitement on her face was impossible to hide. She pulled out a few printed pages covered in dense technical data. Here, this is some of Synergy Corp's latest project data. I snagged it for you. I took it from her, feigning delight, but inside I was laughing coldly. If I hadn't already known about her and Derek, I might have taken this data and had my team waste days analyzing it. After breakfast, Chloe got dolled up and left for work. The moment she was gone, I called my best friend, Leo Martinez, and asked him to tail her for me. Leo and I had been friends since kindergarten. He was a loyal, stand-up guy who always had my back. When I got bullied in middle school, he was the one who stepped in. After I started my company and became CEO of Apex Dynamics, I naturally brought him on board to work with me. That evening, before I even got home, Leo sent me a series of photos via his secure messaging app. Chloe and Derek Vance getting out of his Mercedes, hand in hand, strolling through an outdoor mall, eating dinner at an expensive downtown restaurant, and later that night, wrapped in each other's arms, walking into the Four Seasons. Wow, they really packed it all in, didn't they? A real master of time management. I saved all the photos and got back to work. I also gave the documents Chloe had given me to my lead engineer for analysis. The unanimous conclusion: the data was fabricated, a dead end. I then asked my lead engineer to create some fake data for me, something even more convincing and more misleading than what Chloe had brought me. A few hours later, a set of binders was on my desk. My lead engineer looked confused. Mr. Shaw, what do you need this bogus data for? I just smiled. Don't worry about it. Just keep making more sets like this for me whenever I ask. When I got home that night, Chloe was already there, lounging on the couch in a silk robe, watching TV. Babe, you're home, she called out, stretching lazily. I smiled and held up the binders I was carrying. I'm going to start bringing some work home. That way, I can spend more time with you. Chloe's eyes lit up when she saw the files in my hand. She jumped off the couch and threw her arms around me. Oh, honey, you're the best. I missed you so much. As she spoke, her eyes were glued to the documents. I went into my home office and pretended to work. In reality, I was setting up several well-hidden security cameras. That night, Chloe was unusually energetic and tried to initiate something. I turned her down, telling her I was too stressed with the project deadline approaching. I wouldn't touch someone else's leftovers. The next day, I went to the office as usual. In the middle of handling some emails, my phone buzzed with a notification. I opened it. It was from the app connected to my new smart cameras. The cameras were smart enough not to send alerts for no reason. They only pinged my phone when they detected movement in an empty room. I tapped the notification, and a live feed of my home office appeared on my screen. There was Chloe. She was still in her work clothes, a sharp business dress, so she had clearly just come from Synergy Corp. She knew I wouldn't be home at this time of day. She tiptoed into my office and went straight for the binders I had left on my desk. Chloe pulled out her phone and began taking pictures, page by page, of all the documents. After she was done, she snooped around for a bit longer. Finding nothing else, she left the room, looking slightly disappointed. A moment later, I heard the front door close. "You've got some nerve, Chloe, leaving work in the middle of the day to steal my data for your lover." Unbelievable. I downloaded all the video files to my computer. More evidence for when I finally decided to bring the hammer down on those two. As the afternoon wore on, I debated whether I should head home early. Honestly, if I wasn't putting on this act, I wouldn't want to be under the same roof as her. While I was still deliberating, a text from her came through. "Babe, gonna be a late one tonight. We have to entertain some clients. Derek says I have to be there, or it'll look suspicious." I could only laugh. Derek's idea of entertaining clients was probably a reservation for two at another hotel. I immediately called Leo and asked him to keep an eye on her tonight. The more evidence I had of her affair with Derek, the better my position would be. Since Chloe wasn't going to be home, I didn't have to pretend. I left work at a reasonable hour, taking a new set of fake data files with me. It was 10:30 p.m. when Chloe finally stumbled home, drunk. As had become my routine, I went straight to the guest room to sleep. The next morning when I left for work, Chloe was still passed out on the couch. Her face was flushed, and the air around her was a mix of stale perfume and alcohol. Damn, must have been a wild night. I noticed that her black stockings were torn in several places. Looking closer, I saw the holes looked like they had been made by cigarette burns. Even though I had no feelings left for Chloe, seeing that still ignited a fire in my gut. Once I have all the evidence I need, I'm going to destroy them myself. As the project deadline loomed, the pressure at work intensified. I sent Chloe a text telling her I'd be pulling an all-nighter at the office. The thought of going home to her was repulsive. That night, while replying to emails in my office, I opened the file of pictures Leo had sent me. In every shot, Chloe and Derek were all over each other. The problem was Chloe and I weren't married. These photos wouldn't do much to damage her reputation. Derek, on the other hand, was a different story. His wife, Isabella Vance, came from a very powerful and well-known local family. Everyone in our circle knew that Derek Vance had only been able to start Synergy Corp because of the backing of his wife's family. I called Leo. Can you get me something more explosive? Leo was quiet on the other end for a moment. You mean, proving they're having an affair isn't enough? I want to utterly ruin them. I want the kind of humiliation they can never recover from. The kind that makes them a public spectacle. Leo understood what I wanted, but he was hesitant. Ethan, that kind of stuff is hard to get. Think about it. I've already got dozens of pictures of them shopping, eating out. But that's all circumstantial. It's not enough to completely destroy their reputations. I thought for a moment, then asked, what about the hotel? Can you get something inside the hotel room? Leo immediately shot down the idea. Forget it, Ethan. These two are extremely careful. They only go to high-end national hotel chains. Security is tight. There's no way to get a camera in there. Understood. It seemed like that plan was a dead end for now. Just as I hung up with Leo, the security camera app on my phone buzzed again. I had a smile. Chloe was nothing if not diligent about stealing my files. I opened the app and connected to the live feed. Chloe's figure soon appeared on the screen. She opened the office door and walked in confidently, immediately starting to search through my things. She was no longer cautious and timid like the first time. She knew the routine. I hit the record button, saving the footage directly to my computer. Just then I saw the office door, visible in the background of the shot, open again. Another figure walked in. When I saw who it was, I almost shouted a string of curses. What the hell? Why was Derek Vance in my house? My cameras had audio. The conversation between the two of them came through my phone's speaker loud and clear. Find anything new? Derek asked. Chloe proudly picked up the files from the desk. They were the brand new set I had placed there just last night. Fresh off the press. Derek took them and looked them over, a huge grin spreading across his face. Oh my God, these are the core parameters for the sensor array. That idiot Ethan, he actually brought this stuff home with him. Chloe puffed out her chest proudly. And whose idea was that? If it weren't for me convincing Ethan to work from home, you'd never get your hands on this data. Derek stepped forward and squeezed her shoulders fawningly. You're right. It's all thanks to you. I'll cook up some new fake data for you to give to Ethan. Keep leading Apex Dynamics in the wrong direction. Chloe crossed her arms, looking smug. Don't worry. That fool Ethan will do anything I say. He's like my own little puppy dog. I tell him to sit. He sits. Ha ha, good dog. I clench my jaw, my knuckles turning white. After congratulating themselves for a while, the two of them started making out in my office. What the hell? Was my home office just another part of their twisted foreplay? But then again, just a few minutes ago, I was stressing about not being able to get more damning evidence. And now, here they were, serving it up on a silver platter. I fought back my disgust and saved every second of the precious, revolting footage. This office was definitely getting remodeled. The next morning, I received an unexpected phone call. The woman on the other end introduced herself as Derek Vance's wife, the heiress of the powerful Hayes family, Isabella Vance. What the hell? Why was Derek Vance's wife calling me? We were mortal enemies. There was no way she should have my personal number. The woman on the phone seemed to anticipate my confusion and began to explain. It was simple, really. She had discovered her husband was cheating on her. She then hired a private investigator who discovered that the other woman was my girlfriend, Chloe. Mr. Shaw, she said, her voice cool and steady. Don't you want to get revenge on them? I was silent for a moment. What kind of revenge? Let's discuss it in person. Isabella added me on a secure messaging app and sent me a location. An upscale cafe in the city center. Even though I already had more than enough evidence to take down Chloe and Derek, if I had Isabella on my side, I might be able to gain an even bigger advantage in the race for this contract. 30 minutes later, I pulled up to the cafe. Following her message, I found her in a private booth on the second floor. Isabella took off her sunglasses, revealing a refined, elegant face with flawless, pale skin. She was wearing a classy floral dress that highlighted her sophisticated air. He had a wife like this, and he was still cheating? I suddenly realized I didn't understand Derek Vance at all. After a brief greeting, Isabella immediately took out a tablet. On the screen was a video file. I pressed play, and two figures immediately appeared on the screen. Chloe and Derek. Isabella explained, "This is in my bedroom at home. I noticed a box of condoms in the nightstand seemed to be emptying a little too quickly, so I had a camera installed." On the screen, the two of them were going at it, a sight that made me grind my teeth in fury. Years ago, Derek Vance was just a handsome nobody. Isabella had married him against her family's wishes. His company only got off the ground thanks to the financial backing of her family. And this is how he repaid her, by hooking up with my girlfriend. My face was grim as I took out my own phone and showed Isabella the footage of her husband and my girlfriend going at it in my home office. I watched her beautiful face shift from pale white to flushed red. "Well," she said with a dry, humorless laugh, "it looks like the bedroom was cramping their style." What a hell of a line. After we both put away our respective evidence, Isabella got down to business. "Your girlfriend cannot be trusted," she explained, "since she's willing to climb into Derek's bed. You have to assume they're on the same team." I already knew that, of course. From the moment I saw them in that car, I hadn't trusted Chloe for a second. Isabella continued, "Chloe can be Derek's inside woman, and I can be yours. I will provide you with all of Synergy Corp's internal intelligence on this project. In return, I want you to destroy Derek Vance." She practically spat out the last few words. I could feel the sheer depth of hatred this well-mannered, high-society woman had for her husband. This was perfect. Just publicly humiliating them wasn't enough. I wanted to bankrupt Synergy Corp. For Isabella, Derek's company was now self-sufficient. She was no longer needed. As a woman who had grown up in the lap of luxury, how could she possibly tolerate such a cruel betrayal from her husband? Only by utterly destroying him could she find any peace. In the weeks that followed, Isabella and I began communicating regularly online. As Derek's wife, and once the company's largest investor, she had access to a wealth of inside information. Through the documents she sent me, I discovered that Synergy Corp's project was headed in a completely wrong direction. To my astonishment, Derek was fully incorporating the fake experimental data I had created. The data from the bogus reports I'd fabricated. He had some serious guts. It seemed Derek really trusted me in a twisted sort of way. The industry my company and Synergy Corp were in was still relatively new in the United States. In terms of pure technical skill, Apex Dynamics was undoubtedly at the top of the field. Of that, I was absolutely confident. But Derek Vance had clawed his way to his current position, and he had his own strengths. For one, he had deep-pocketed investors behind him. Besides his wife, Isabella, Derek had a silver tongue and an uncanny ability to dazzle venture capitalists with slick slide decks and empty promises. He also wasn't above hiring online trolls to smear his competitors or poaching key talent with exorbitant salaries. We have been battling for years. If it wasn't for my company's superior technology, I probably would have been wiped out long ago. But seducing my girlfriend would prove to be the biggest mistake of his life. Armed with the real intelligence on Synergy Corp's development, my team was working around the clock to put the finishing touches on our project. At the same time, I continued to periodically bring home new sets of fake documents for Chloe to steal. As for the so-called intel she provided me, I threw it all straight into the trash. With only a month left until the final project bidding conference, things were coming to a head. According to Isabella's information, Synergy Corp had only managed to complete the most basic functions of the project, and even that was riddled with bugs. To try and catch up, they were blindly copying my fabricated data, but they could never get it to meet the required technical specifications. One afternoon, that despicable pair once again entered my home office. Again, 100 curses welled up inside me. Can't you just get a hotel room? Why does it always have to be in my office? Is it an addiction at this point? I gritted my teeth in frustration. This time, however, Derek seemed less interested in fooling around. As soon as he entered the office, he started frantically searching for more documents. Chloe stood by, reminding him, "Don't make a mess. You don't want Ethan to get suspicious." Frustrated, Derek threw himself into my desk chair. He clicked his tongue and pointed at the files I had left on the desk. "Are you sure this is all he has?" Chloe sounded certain. "Positive. These are the only files Ethan ever works with in here. See for yourself. He's even made notes in the margins." I had to smirk. It seemed my little performance was quite convincing. Derek's brow was furrowed in concentration. But according to the data in these files, Apex's project is still in the initial development phase. If that's the case, there's no way they'll be able to win the bid. Chloe moved behind him and began to massage his shoulders. Lately, I've heard Ethan sighing a lot, complaining that the project has hit a major roadblock. He said a lot of his employees are threatening to quit. Derek shot up from the chair, his face alight with excitement. "Really?" Chloe nodded gravely. "Absolutely. That idiot is actually worried that your project at Synergy Corp is ahead of his. I lied and told him that your project was even further behind, that you were still in the preliminary research phase. Combined with the fake data you gave me, he's completely fallen for it." Derek let out a sigh of relief, the tension finally leaving his face. Chloe continued to encourage him. "Ethan has been holed up at his office lately, working on the final project report. He said that even though he can't meet all of the client's technical requirements, as long as he can beat Synergy Corp, the contract will still be his. After the bidding conference, there would still be a long lead time before the project went into mass production. So, whichever company won the contract would still have plenty of time to refine their product to meet the client's needs. The project was incredibly complex and expensive, which was why the client wanted to select a final supplier at the halfway point. Otherwise, the losses for the losing party would be too catastrophic." Derek grabbed Chloe by the waist and pulled her close. "Good. Let Ethan live in his little dream world for a few more days. At this rate, the contract is as good as mine." Watching on my phone screen, I couldn't help but sneer. "You want to compare project completion rates? My team is already in the final stages of testing and integration. The ones living in a dream world are you two morons." Over the weekend, Chloe called to tell me her parents wanted to meet me. I really didn't want to go. If I wasn't still playing a role, she would have been out on the street weeks ago. Did she really expect me to marry someone else's mistress? My friend Leo convinced me to go. If I was going to see this act through to the end, I had to do it right. The last thing I needed was to make Chloe and Derek suspicious right at the critical moment. I couldn't figure out what Chloe's angle was. She already had Derek, right? According to their plan, after Synergy Corp won the massive contract, Derek would be rolling in money. There was no reason for her to stay with me. It wasn't until later that I understood. Leo, while tailing them, had managed to record a conversation from their private room at a restaurant, thanks to a listening device he had planted. "Honey," Chloe had said, "what happens to me after you crush Ethan? You, my dear, will stay right by his side. You know that tiger I'm married to? Her family is too powerful. If I try to divorce her now, I'll lose everything. How could I afford to buy you designer bags and take you on lavish vacations then?" Chloe sounded hesitant. "You want me to stay with Ethan? I don't want to live a miserable life." Derek continued to sweet-talk her. "You'll have me, won't you? I'll set you up with a new car, a condo, whatever you want. You just have to play house with Ethan for a little while, and we can continue to live the high life in secret. Hee hee, you're so naughty." Derek's voice turned greasy. "Just think how exciting it will be, doing it in your and Ethan's house. Son of a bitch." So now I was just another prop in their sick little game? They wanted her to marry me. That was part of the plan. If Leo hadn't talked me down, I would have gone over there and torn them both apart with my bare hands. Chloe's parents, knowing I ran a successful company, had booked a table at an incredibly expensive restaurant. Since I wasn't paying, I figured I might as well enjoy a free meal. After we sat down, Chloe's mother didn't beat around the bush. My precious daughter, I've never let her suffer a day in her life. When she marries into your family, she is not to do any housework. I took a large bite of lobster. Ma'am, of course not. Why would I ever let Chloe do housework? I'll hire a full-time housekeeper, a personal chef, the works. Chloe's father then spoke up. Ethan, you're a successful CEO, so when it comes to the arrangements, I hope you won't think we're being greedy. It's not about the money, you see. It's about keeping up appearances. Having a son-in-law like you is a great honor for us back home. Her mother immediately chimed in. Don't you worry, I'll be sure to buy a few extra sets of nice sheets for her dowry. They might as well have had dollar signs tattooed on their foreheads. Like mother, like daughter. I swallowed a mouthful of filet mignon, took a sip of the 82 Cabernet, and then spoke slowly. Sir, ma'am, what do you think would be a fair arrangement? Chloe's father held up one finger. $1 million. I shook my head. Her parents' faces instantly fell. I continued. 1 million. Is that all? I was thinking 3 million. And of course, I'll buy you both a nice house to retire in. Don't you worry. Once we're married, we'll be family. I'll take good care of you. Chloe's father was so ecstatic he nearly jumped out of his seat, immediately insisting on another toast. The first time I saw you, Ethan, I knew you were a good man. My wife and I can rest easy knowing our daughter is with you. Chloe's mother waved her hand grandly. Waiter, more food. This little bit of lobster and steak isn't nearly enough for my future son-in-law. The two of them were beaming, a stark contrast to Chloe, who sat beside them looking indifferent. She didn't react at all to the pie in the sky I was selling. After all, she was the only one at the table who knew I was about to go bankrupt. But it didn't matter to her. Once Derek was successful, he wouldn't forget about her. I wiped my mouth with a napkin. Ma'am, please, don't order too much. Let's not be wasteful. I then caught the waiter's eye. We'll have 4 of the Australian rock lobsters and a 4-pound porterhouse steak. And bring us a bottle of Screaming Eagle. I need something to rinse my mouth with. 7 Isabella told me that Derek had been on a fundraising frenzy lately, trying to secure more capital to expand his company. He was parading investors through his labs, showing off his progress, and confidently assuring everyone that he was a lock to win the contract. When they asked him how he could be so sure, he would just give them a smug look. Don't worry, he'd say, I have inside information. I could only laugh. Just before the bidding conference, my team finally finished developing and testing all the required technical specifications. At the same time, we received official validation from 3 independent testing labs. On the day of the conference, Derek had invited a whole entourage of guests, including his extended family. Chloe did the same, claiming she was there to witness my triumph. But in reality, she was there to see me fail. The client had pulled out all the stops for the event. They had booked a massive, state-of-the-art convention hall and flown in a panel of industry experts to serve as judges. The entire hall was lined with huge screens to ensure everyone had a clear view of the presentations. Derek Vance walked in radiating confidence, acting as if the contract was already his. When he looked at me, his eyes were filled with undisguised arrogance. The conference began, and, as decided by the organizers, Derek went first. He gave his presentation, but it was clear that his system failed to meet many of the specific performance metrics. The expert panel looked on, their brows furrowed. One of them asked a series of pointed technical questions that Derek was completely unable to answer, exposing several critical bugs in his system's functionality. If it weren't for his thick skin, he would have probably just walked off the stage in shame. Instead, he brazenly declared that if he was awarded the contract, he guaranteed he could deliver the final product on schedule. He really thought my product was in worse shape than his. As they say, comparisons can be brutal. And this time, Derek was the one who was about to get hurt. He shot a provocative look at me, then glanced over at Chloe. The two of them weren't even trying to hide it anymore, exchanging looks right in front of me. Please rest assured, Derek said to the client and the judges. Give Synergy Corp this opportunity. If you choose us, I promise we will deliver. The investors in the audience, the ones who had been fed the so-called inside information, immediately began to applaud. Many of them had been duped into pouring money into Synergy Corp. If the bid was successful, they stood to make a fortune. Next, it was my turn. The only applause came from my own employees at the Apex Dynamics table. Chloe acted as if she didn't even see me walk on stage, her eyes fixed on the triumphant-looking Derek. Did those two really think they had this in the bag? Sorry to disappoint you, but the show is just getting started. In contrast, Isabella, sitting next to Derek, gave me a subtle, confident nod. I took a deep breath, plugged in my flash drive, and began my presentation. To everyone's surprise, my company's system met every single technical requirement perfectly. Even the experts on the panel murmured in disbelief. I brought out a physical prototype of the drone and demonstrated its capabilities live, answering every question the experts threw at me. I passed with flying colors. In the audience, Derek Vance's face went white as a sheet. He couldn't possibly imagine how Apex Dynamics' product could be so flawless. My team was disciplined and our security was airtight. Beside him, Chloe was dumbfounded, muttering to herself, "No, that's impossible. How could this happen?" Only her parents were overjoyed, looking as if they had truly won the lottery. "No, it's all fake," Derek shouted, jumping to his feet. "He's faking the data." The experts on the panel glared at him, clearly annoyed. Our product had just received their praise, and now Derek was accusing us of fraud. It was a direct insult to their professional judgment. "Mr. Vance," one of the judges said sternly, "was Mr. Shaw's live demonstration not sufficient? Are you incapable of recognizing genuine performance data when you see it?" Of course, Derek couldn't. He was a fraud who had stumbled into the tech world, a salesman who was completely clueless about the engineering side of the business. And he had the audacity to question me. As for the rest of the performance metrics, I presented binder after binder of certified lab reports to the judges. Every single parameter had been verified by 3 independent labs. I looked at Derek with a challenging smirk. "Mr. Vance, do you understand my product's data now?" "Those lab reports must be forged too," he sputtered. "Ethan Shaw, you have some nerve colluding with testing labs to produce fake certificates." I held up one of the reports, showing the official embossed seals. "Mr. Vance, I choose your next words very carefully. Baseless accusations like that can have serious legal consequences for a lot of people." Derek deflated like a punctured balloon and collapsed back into his chair. Behind him, several of his investors were seething with rage. I had a feeling that as soon as the conference was over, they were going to have a very serious chat with Mr. Vance. But the show wasn't over yet. To no one's surprise, the judging panel unanimously awarded the contract to Apex Dynamics. The room erupted in celebration. Just as the furious investors were about to confront Derek, a program I had hidden on my flash drive activated. Every screen in the massive convention hall flickered and then switched to a new video feed. I feigned ignorance. "What's going on? Did my computer get a virus?" Then, the videos of Derek and Chloe's affair began to play for everyone to see. A curated collection of photos and videos. Them at hotels, in his car, and the grand finale, the footage from my own home office. The footage was graphic. Their trysts were displayed in high definition for all to see. The room fell into a stunned, dead silence, which was quickly shattered by an uproar of gasps and frantic whispers. "What the hell? That's Derek Vance, right? Who's the woman? She's here today, sitting right next to Ethan Shaw. That's his girlfriend. Wow, this is juicier than a soap opera." People scrambled to pull out their phones, snapping pictures, recording the screens, and uploading clips to TikTok in a seamless motion. One person even started a live stream. "Folks, you won't believe this. The 2 stars of the video are right here in the room. Smash that like button, and I'll try to get an interview." In an instant, a forest of smartphones was shoved in Derek and Chloe's faces. The 2 of them were frozen in their seats, pale and trembling. Isabella immediately put on a show of righteous fury. "Derek Vance, how could you, after everything my family has done for you, to cheat on me and humiliate me like this?" She gave a sharp nod, and her personal bodyguards, who had been standing by, swarmed forward. She had given them simple instructions beforehand. Don't hold back. Derek's cries of pain were drowned out by the chaos as the bodyguards laid into him. He tried to escape their circle, but one of them easily blocked his path and sent a front tooth flying with a single punch. Chloe was still sitting there, stunned, as if she couldn't process how things had escalated so quickly. Before I could even make a move, her parents lost it. How could we have raised such a monster? Her mother shrieked. You shameless tramp. Why don't you just die? Her parents attack her from both sides, their slaps echoing through the hall. Chloe was completely dazed, blood pouring from her nose. She looked up, her eyes desperately searching for help, and met my gaze. Ethan, please help me, she cried. You have to help me. She still had the nerve to ask me for help? I was one of the victims here. The few security guards present finally managed to pull her parents away. The old couple was still screaming. It's all your fault. Our $3 million is gone. And our retirement house. You worthless slut, just go die. Seizing the opportunity, I rushed down from the stage. I kicked Chloe square in the chest. I don't usually hit women, unless I can't help it. She flew backward and landed in a heap on the floor. I lunged at her. How could you do this to me? I roared. I work my ass off day and night, and this is how you repay me. By cheating on me with my biggest rival. I wasn't about to soften my blows with slaps. I used my fists. Punch after punch landed, and one of her eyes swelled shut. She managed to grab my shirt collar with all her strength. Ethan, she rasped. You put cameras in the house. I tore her hand away. None of her damn business. I yelled, you want to fight back? I'll kill you. I might work long hours, but I always made time for the gym. Now it was finally paying off. After I was done, Chloe was a bruised and broken mess on the floor. I stood up, taking a long, deep breath. For all the humiliation of being cheated on, for the stress of them trying to destroy the company I had built from nothing, I'd say she got off easy. Eventually, someone called the police, and the chaotic spectacle finally came to an end. Chloe and Derek were both taken to the hospital, apparently with serious injuries. Afterward, Isabella's family applied their considerable influence. Derek and Chloe, battered and broken, had no choice but to swallow their bitter pill. Chloe was quickly checked out of the hospital by her parents, who claimed it was too expensive and she could recover at home. I heard that back home. They took all their frustrations out on her. Their dream of a lavish retirement funded by me had been shattered. She tried to run away from their abuse multiple times, but they always caught her and dragged her back, beating her each time. A few months ago, I heard Chloe had a complete mental breakdown and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. It was a fitting end for her. As for Derek Vance, his investors pulled out, and Synergy Corp went bankrupt overnight. The investors he had conned lost millions, and, furious, they sought their own brand of revenge. They left him with a permanently disabled arm and leg. A few weeks later, he killed himself. The two people who had betrayed me so spectacularly in my own home had met their sorry ends. As for Apex Dynamics, landing that massive contract sent us into the stratosphere. I knew the importance of staying grounded, so I pushed my team to set even higher standards for our products. The company grew stronger, and the loyal friends and colleagues who had been with me from the beginning were all promoted to key positions with generous salaries. My life finally became a little less stressful. That evening, I returned to the new villa I had bought. Isabella was already there, waiting for me. She had prepared a lavish dinner and opened a bottle of expensive red wine. Cheers, she said, raising her glass. Through the crystal, her fair skin glowed with a seductive pink hue. She bit her lip playfully. After dinner, you have homework to do. I nearly choked on my wine. What? Didn't I just turn in an assignment yesterday? Yesterday's performance was excellent, she purred. Consider this extra credit.